Hi everybody, sanibonani. Welcome to my channel. Igama lami nguNtando Mdletshe, and on this channel siyafunde incwadi ebhalwe ngolimi lwethu lwesiZulu bese siza la sokhuluma ngazo le ndaba esuke sifundile senzela laba phela abangenaso isikhathi sokuthi bayifunde incwadi nalaba abanqinayo nje ukufunda. Siyaphinda futhi sibuka ama reality shows ethu ala eMzansi bese siza la sizokhuluma ngawo lama reality shows, senza ama reviews or ama recaps, siphinde futhi sikhulume nga any other issues avukayo uma ngabe sesiwabukele lama shows lawa kwi-TV. Namhlanje na ke sikhuluma nge-Real Housewives of Durban, but sikhuluma ngo-Mr. Petal. Ake sikhulumeni ngo-Mr. Petal. Ngiyanibona niyayiziba le ndaba ka-Mr. Petal. Hayibo, ake sikhulumeni ngo-Mr. Petal. Kodwa ke before sifike ku-Mr. Petal, uma ngabe okokuqala ujoyina namhlanje and awukazi uzosubscribe, please press usubscribe la ngezansi. Uma ngabe ibutton elibovu lisho ukuthi awukazi uzosubscribe, kodwa mali grey lisho ukuthi uzosubscribe, ungakhohlwa ukuthi upress i-notification bell ukuze phela uthole umyalezo uma ngabe umsebenzi omusha sesiwufakile. This video is gonna be painful to me because I really like Lachonco, but guys, I couldn't see question like I did in that video where I was talking about a relationship Lachonco with the former president, and my question in video was, did you Lachonco lie to us in season 1 when it came to a relationship with the former president, or did she omit the truth? Because masibuka ama timelines a relationship yakhe with the former president, it seemed like vele uqale season 1 of Real Housewives of Durban already sebengekho ndawonye with the former president. Ama articles abhaliwe abeka ama dates where show wasn't even in season yet, bebengakashuthi nokushutha. It seemed like they might possibly have broken up with uLokhuzana with uLachonco before season 1 starts, but mayifika ku season 1 uyawasinika idea yokuthi engazi ukuthi, you remember when she said Google me, I am nonkanyiso Chonco, Google me, and she still had a ring on. And I know argument yabanye abantu on my comments were like, maybe at that time she was still dealing with the fact that the relationship wasn't working out, and it was difficult for her to just take off a ring, and it was difficult for her to discuss the relationship yakhe on season 1, and I do understand that, and I agree with that is a possibility. But I do feel like she wanted us to think because she was in a relationship with the former president, because it made her storyline a little bit more interesting. We kept on wanting to see her because we kept on thinking she was going to talk about the former president. Season 2, we realized that relationship never existed even in season 1, being a seiko, and from what she explained, Vele, they had already being a bonani and bonana with the Lokhuzana with the former president. So okay, fine, she clarified. I had questions, and was she telling the truth? And in season 1, anyway, we'll never really know the exact answers, because politicians, if I may say so. So now in this season, I guess the reason she was opened up about the breakup with the former president, because honestly she wanted to introduce someone new. It would have been weird for us to find out Lachonco is possibly dating someone new when we are not clear on what's happening with her and the former president. And remember, at the reunion, she came without a ring. That's where we got Lokhuzana idea was, okay, maybe ngempela they're not together with the former president, and she came this season very fascinating and I again. So, and then the first season, then she opened up about what's happening with first episode, she opened up to Sorish about what's happening with her and the former president, that the relationship was over and all of that drama. And also she opened up to Umabos Umganwag. Okay, great. And now that they're introducing a idea and she's dating someone new, I'm starting to think that is the only reason Lachonco came and opened up about what happened with the former president, is because she really wanted to introduce the idea of someone new in her life. Okay. And initially, honestly, guys, when she introduced the idea that she's dating somebody, it's early stages, she doesn't want to talk about it a lot, but she really likes the person, and the person is a great guy. I really didn't want to prompt into it. I didn't want to go search for it. I just thought, if the relationship works out, she's going to introduce the guy. We're going to see him on the show. If it's not if it's not early episodes, it's later on in the season. If it's not later on in the season, it's probably going to be next season. And But I felt like I started to feel like, because initially it was like she doesn't want to talk about this person, but then as ama episode, as the season moves on, it seems like she is even more excited to talk about him. She's excited for people to ask about him, even though she's not giving us the name of the person. She's not giving us the information about this person. And at the same time, when they had a black tie event, which was the opportunity for everybody to introduce their partner, she didn't come with the person. She said she came with a friend, which I assume is not Mr. Petal. And the reason she's giving him the name Mr. Petal is because she doesn't want to give us the real name. Okay, and I was like, hey, let's wait and see, does this guy exist and who is he? And I think she just really wanted to give us this idea of this guy who came and swept her off her feet, and then I think things started getting weird when it comes to Mr. Petal when the flowers came, because remember in episode 6 the guy came to Jojo's house to bring the flowers for Ulokuzana Nonkanyisa. Okay, fine. When they brought the flowers, I thought, I don't know, maybe because you never know, maybe the producers already know who the guy is. They had contacted the guy and said, listen, it really would make such a great storyline. At the same time, you're doing something really nice for Nonkanyi, so just buy these flowers and send to this address. Because my questions about the flowers were like, how did this guy find out where Jojo lived? Because they were at the pool party at Jojo's house. How did he find out where Jojo lived? Because Unonkanyis was surprised that the guy knew that the guy bought the flowers. So if she's surprised, it means that she didn't know the flowers were coming. So then I was like, but how did the guy know where Jojo's house is? You know, which is why I think a lot of the people were feeling like Unonkanyis uzithengele lawo flowers. If she didn't buy them, at least she knew that the flowers were coming. Okay, the flowers came, ne? And it was suspicious a little bit, but I was like, no, man. I mean, no woman is going to buy herself flowers and send the flowers to herself and pretend it's from the boyfriend. Okay, fine. The flowers come. Here's the issues that I have with the coming of the flowers. The flowers come. Okay, fine. I mean, we could argue both sides. Initially, I really felt like Unokanyisa was really surprised that the flowers were actually for her, because she thought they were for Jojo. That's the reaction I felt I got from her. But then when you really look at that scene, and then I think it's Jojo who reads the card, and then the card says "Petal for my petals for my petal," and then I'm like, how? How is that possible? Because Igameliti Petal guy, corrects me if I'm wrong. Igameliti Petal, we only got to know about it this season, which means it seemed like it's the name that Lachonco created for the show, so that she gets to talk about him, but she doesn't get to tell us who he is exactly. So she named him Petal. And the flowers are coming in episode 7, which means that the flowers are coming when they are still shooting the show, before we see it. And if it's before we see the show, it means that it's before Mr. Petal sees the show. And it's before Mr. Petal sees that he is being called Mr. Petal. So how is Mr. Petal going to call himself Mr. Petal when there is the name that Lachonco created for him for the show, and he hasn't seen the show, because the show Agagaboniswa on TV. This is only episode 7. They haven't even wrapped to be like, okay, we've wrapped. And then she's like, by the way, I was calling you Mr. Petal on the show so that people don't know who you are. So that was strange for me. It was strange. And I'm like, okay, maybe she did tell Mr. Petal, listen, I'm calling you Mr. Petal from now on. So everything that you send to me, right, Mr. Petal? I don't know. But it was weird to me that Mr. Petal knows igama so ambiza ngalo to the other girls, hiding his identity. Okay, the card said petals for my petal. And then on top of that, it says, I think it said, enjoy your day, lassie. Then that just killed me, because I was like, Aibo, the term lassie was, if I remember correctly, for the show, the person that started calling her Lachonco Lassie was Usoresha, and then Eni as well started calling her that, and then Ujojo joined this season because they were struggling to pronounce the name Lachonco, so they started calling her Lassie. So basically, a lot of the people, Abambiza Lassie, are people that cannot pronounce her name, and are people that are on the show. She's called Ulasi. It's like something that came because of the show and because of people struggling to pronounce her name, Ulachonco or Nonkanyiso. So I'm like, how is this guy? How is your boyfriend calling you Lassie Nonkanyiso? Why would he call her Lassie? It's strange for me, guys. I don't know if it's strange for you too. It's strange for me. That thing is, that card seemed to be written by somebody that wrote it for the show. In their mind, it was for the show because in the show, the guy is called Mr. Petal and Ulachongo is being called Ulasi. It just didn't make sense. Would say this guy will write that card that way. But yeah, maybe it did come from the guy. The guy, maybe the guy, mhlawumbe umlungu na this guy, so akakwazi naye ukubiza uLachonco and akakwazi ukubiza uNonkanyiso, so naye umbiza ngoLasi. Where did he get the Lassie thing? It means he watches the show too. Okay, fine. But lapho. And then I went and I watched because one of the things that Lachonco keeps mentioning on the show is that this guy is doing very well for himself. I don't know why she feels the need to mention that. Even Annie was saying the same thing. Why do you feel the need to mention that your guy has a lot of money? She said that her guy has a yacht. You know, about rich has a yacht and possibly has a private plane or can get access to a private plane. So this is somebody very rich, guys. Because remember, Mabe say quantum. You remember our quantum when Mabe quantum she said Lachonco yes sending a message and said, why didn't you say good in here and I could have organized for you guys to fly before they knew about the private jet. So it's either this guy has a private jet or he does have access to a private jet or he can afford to hire a private jet for Lachonco and her friends. And he also has a yacht. And I was like, Yazi, if I was a real journalist, I would have been able to find this guy because I am sure there isn't a lot of people that owns a yacht. And there isn't a lot of people that have a private jet or have Lukuzan. I'm a private jet or access to I'm a private jet. But obviously, if you look online for such information, you don't find it. I looked for photos of Lachonco on a yacht and I didn't find it. I looked for photos of Lachonco on a private plane, on a private jet. I did find just one photo that it looked like she might have been, but I was like, hey, but this one, it's not clear enough whether it's a first class on a plane or it's a private jet, because a private jet you are in usendlini somewhere. Leana, it looked like it's a fancy plane, but I'm not sure about it being ilokuzana a private jet. So yeah, guys, I didn't find anything when it came to that because I thought maybe something could be linked to that. If she's on a photo in a yacht with a certain guy, maybe we could assume that's Mr. that is Mr. Petal, but I couldn't find it. Hey, we are touching Mr. Petal. That means they haven't been in any restaurants, they haven't been anywhere with Mr. Guy. Because trust me, if I'm somewhere and I see Lachonco with a man, whether that's Mr. Petal or not, I'm taking a photo because it's Lachonco with the guy. But nobody has been able to do that. So it's suspicious. That is also suspicious, guys. And then I thought about it and I was like, one of the times when Lachonco mentioned in the Petal was when she got that car, the electric car, BMW, the new BMW that is an electric car. And she had posted about it, I think, on Instagram or Twitter. And people were going on about it. When people reported on that car, they had said, I'm a YouTubers that reported on her getting that car. They had said that she had posted that she got the car from her man, from her new man. It was like she had said that she asked me what I would like. Was it Valentine's? Yes. She said, he asked me what I would like for Valentine. And I said, I want land or property. And this is what I got. So people assumed, she had asked her man for land or property, and her man gave her an electric car, BMW. Congratulations. Everyone was like, Lachonco has a new man, whatever. And then I went and I read the article, and the article said the same. And then I'm reading, and then I go to the publication, the South African. If you go to the publication, guys, that's I think that's one of the reliable publications online, because online sometimes basbalela manga. That's why you have to quote baleba. So I go to the publication, the South African, to read this article written by Ray Seme. Ray Seme, when she writes about that car, she says she is congratulating Lachonco for buying one of the first electric cars in South Africa. That article is about Lachonco buying herself a car, and the people that are responding to the article are congratulating her for making such a purchase. So now there is a conflict as to what was this car bought by Mr. Petal, or was the car bought by Lachonco? Then I started thinking, Aibo, now we have questions of whether these flowers were bought by Mr. Petal or Lachonco herself, but it's just flowers, so if she bought it herself, it's not a big deal. But now it is a car. It's a question of a car. Why is one article saying her man bought her the car, and another article is saying she bought herself that car? And it looks like Ray Seme had called even the car dealership to get information on how much the car cost. Apparently it's 1.6 million, and how rare the car is, what the functions of the car is, and the way that she talked about ilokuzana with umuntu lo wa car dealership, it seemed like Lachonco is the one that made the purchase. Okay. But there's no document pele show it is, and this is who paid. I guess at the time, I mean, if this journalist was doing the story, she didn't maybe think there are questions as to who bought this car. But I guess now we are questioning who bought this car. Was it Lachonco buying the car for herself, or did she buy, or did her man buy the car for her? Okay. Even in the pictures about the car and about who bought the car, there's no picture of a man. It's just her in the car. It's a nice car. People are congratulating her, but there's no man there. She said just the caption says spoiled Petal. Okay. Petal again. And then I looked at the date of when the car was bought. I think it was like in January, mid-January, which was around the time when they did a launch for Real Housewives of Durban. Any launch for Real Housewives of Durban was just after they wrapped up after they wrapped up taping the show. So when they were done with the show, they did a launch, and around the time she got the car. And then I started thinking, obviously, it's very hard to find information on how Showmax pays people for the show. And I know from other reality shows, from other channels, there are channels that pay per episode. Like they shoot the show, wrap it up, and then every time they play an episode, whatever amount they agreed on for the episode, they pay you. They play the episode, they pay you. They play the episode, they pay you. But there's no information that says that there is how Real Housewives does it. This is how Showmax does it. It might be that Showmax wraps the show, does the launch, and then pays them. And if they pay them, it means that Lachonco at that time did have some money from the show. And remember also, she just got a deal with Woolworths for the t-shirts and stuff, and she's still doing her products, which, by the way, she's not talking much about it on the show this time. I don't know why she's not doing that, because it really is free marketing. And so she possibly did have some, she had just gotten imali from the show, maybe, and maybe she just bought herself a car. But my question is why? Why would she tell us that car was bought for her by a man? Why would she even insinuate that when she bought the car for herself? There are a lot of questions here, guys. Enye into that I want to mention, in 2018, which I think it's around the time when she was still allegedly seeing the former president, there is an article that is written back then when she was being, like, the bank was looking for her because they wanted to repossess one of the cars that she owned. But so it seemed like in 2018, when she was still seeing the former president, there were some financial challenges, which is not a strange thing, guys. We all go through financial challenges. But I'm just counting 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022. This is like three years later. I don't know, has she recovered enough to be buying e-motors about 1.6 million And but then I mean it's 3 years later, and also she's done the first season of the show. Maybe she was able to recover with that, because Pela, she's no longer with the former president. Maybe she doesn't get allowances that you get as a wife now, and maybe she's recovered from that debt. But I did have questions of, really, would she be in a position to afford that car if only a few years later she had those struggles financially, where some of imoto yakhe, one of imoto yakhe, angazi noma she had more than one, in imoto yakhe was being was possibly being repossessed by the bank. So but mhlawumbe she is recovered, but there is a possibility ukuthi she did have imali enough to buy herself that electric car. I don't know why she would make that decision, but then I mean, yay, number my finances are my mess, so I'm not the one to talk. But from what we've seen, it doesn't look like she does own indlu. She hasn't shown us that. Leya ndawo leya noma bengasho, but mina nginokasuma ukuthi she's renting that place, maybe futhi possibly just to shoot the show. So yeah, but then guys, make a decision. I don't know what you think about it. It's hard to find information about Petal, and so it will be hard to find to determine whether really he bought the flowers, and if he bought the car. I'm leaning towards Mr. Petal akekho nje. Amukho Mr. Petal. Honestly, guys, that's how I feel. But I'm not saying feel that way. I want to know why you feel. If you feel Mr. Petal exists, tell me why you think Mr. Petal exists. What's the evidence that you have that I don't have? Let's have fun in the comment section, guys. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please don't forget to like the video before you share it with your friends, with your family, and even with strangers. Ngithanda kakhulu.